How to tell a story. Whether you're telling a joke, fairy tale, or trying to persuade someone with a little empirical evidence, telling a story well is an important skill. Engage your audience. Start your storytelling by interacting with your audience or doing something to grab their attention. Ask them a question, even if it's just rhetorical. This forces their attention to focus on the idea of your story and makes them want to hear more. Build the scene. Throughout your storytelling, you want to create an immersive experience. You want to tell your audience the story in a way that makes them feel like they're there. You'll also want to carefully tailor your language. Use words that create very strong, very specific emotions. Build tension and release tension. What you need to remember is that a release of tension should come between the tension points. Without this release of tension, a story can feel rushed or too list-like. Real life includes moments between the things that happen to us. Stories should too. Focus on what's important. When telling a story, it is important to include details to create that sense of immersion. However, you don't want the story to take on a rambling feel. Cut the details that aren't important for the story, leave the ones that make the story. Keep the flow logical. This is where knowing your story and practicing become important. You know that person that tells a story and they get partway in and then they're like, "Oh, I forgot to mention." Yeah, don't be that guy. Don't stop to back up. This breaks the listener's experience of the story. Make it feel conclusive. It's awkward when an audience isn't sure if you're done or not, so make the conclusion of your story feel conclusive. You can try to state the moral like, "This, ladies and gentlemen, is an excellent example of why you should never take your cat to work." Create character. Make the different people in the story feel different. If you act them differently, then you can skip the annoying blank said parts of the story. You can also make the story feel more immersive. Make your storytelling big or small. Match the way your voice sounds to how you want the story to feel at that point. Change your pitch, tone, and volume to make stories seem calm or exciting, depending on where you are in the story. Control your face. If you want to really become a great storyteller, you have to master your ability to create and change facial expressions to match what you're saying. Your face should be able to basically act out the entire story. Talk with your hands. Talking with your hands can make you go from seeming like a really stiff, boring storyteller to someone who commands the room with a story. Hands convey emotions. Hands keep our audience focused. Hands create a feeling of action. Act out the story. If you can, move your whole body to act out the story. You don't have to reenact every motion, but use your body at key points in the story to direct the listener's attention to that point. Practice. Practice telling a story a few times before you tell it to other people. You want to be comfortable telling the story and get a good feel for when to add in dramatic pauses and when to engage that big, building tone of excitement. Memorize your story. Make sure you know the story backwards and forwards, and then focus when you're telling it. This is to help keep you from missing details that are important. It also helps keep the story consistent across tellings, which is important if someone is likely to hear the story more than once. Be authentic. Don't turn your stories into fish stories. You know the ones, where each time you tell it, it gets more dramatic and more epic, and the details change to become more mythic and characters become less and less real. Control the environment. You want to tell your story at a good place and time if you can. Even the best story can be ruined if you have to stop constantly because of distractions. Allow for interaction. A listener's experience of a story gets even better if they are able to interact and join in the experience. You can ask your audience questions or find other ways for them to interact with the story if you really want to step up your storytelling. Respond to your audience. The most important skill to work on is being able to respond to your audience. If they start to get bored, wrap or step it up. If they're really enjoying a particular part, build on that. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.